Thought we were on. Welcome to the Capital Investment Committee meeting, May 23rd, 2018. Call to order. And we'll have a consideration of the minutes from March 28th, 2019. May I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 2, consideration of request to deny sanitary sewer availability denial for 1886 Wilson Pike.
So this is just a standard, they've made a request for denial. They're outside an acceptable limit to sewer. They're right near a force main that you can't put gravity sewer into. It would be a pretty far distance for them to get to sewer.
Move to disapprove sewer connection.
Do I have any discussion on that?
I second the motion.
She did. And let me just clarify where that is located on Wilson. Where's that located?
It's
from?
on Wilson Pike, just a little bit north of Clovercroft.
North, and they are in the city,
Correct.
all right?
Just not an acceptable distance to
All
sewer
right.
to make it feasible.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, passes. Number 3, consideration of change order number 1 to the construction contract, City of Franklin with Kiewit, is it Kiewit? Yes, Infrastructure South for the water reclamation facility modifications and expansion project for a cost increase of $180,565.
So what this is when the project was bid and then it was rebid, we made a significant effort to kind of cut some of the extra things, the demolition of some of the older structures at the plant site to reduce some of the cost. What's happened is when Hewitt's done the demo that's required to put new structures out there, so of the old plant that was built in 1970s, and then some of the areas for the electrical building, we've had to actually cut a lot more piping than we initially thought. And what that in turn means is that there's 2 excess flow basins on the eastern side of the site nearest to Harlansdale that once they fill with water, we can't drain them anymore because all that piping has been capped off and we have no way to access that. So what this change order is for the demolition contractor that's on site to knock down the walls and get all that to grade so we can kind of prevent stagnant water from standing in those basins right next to Harlansdale.
Do you have a
Move
mo-
approval. Second.
And out of what fund, the same fund we're paying for this, that we have this scheduled in there? Or-
Yeah, so this will come,
Everybody?
this is, we've actually asked the SRF with TDEC if they would reimburse this, and this is not a reimbursable cost, but this will be out of that
Yeah.
that additional 32
30.
million that the city
It will be.
would have to pay.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Number 4, consideration of resolution 2019-39, a draft resolution authorizing condemnation for the acquisition of property for the P.F. Chang portion of the Spencer Creek at Franklin Road Sanitary Sewer Project.
So this is a capital project that we've been designing and are ready to bid this out. The P.F. Chang's portion is, we're going to kind of do it in conjunction with the Spencer Creek replacement at Franklin Road. This P.F. Chang's line is sagging in the middle, and we don't have any way to fix it except actually dig down and to replace that section of the line. It is behind, this is for a construction easement behind P.F. Chang's in that kind of area in the parking lot between Witch and P.F. Chang's right there, for us to kind of access the site and have some storage areas for the contractor.
And there's no financial impact, it says, on this.
Move approval.
Correct. All right.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consideration, number 5, consideration of draft of professional services agreement for Henpeck Lane Sanitary Sewer Project Construction Administration Inspection Services for civil and engineering consultants in the amount of $277,600.
So this is for
Excuse me.
full-time inspection services over the Henpeck Lane interceptor that's going in for that section in front of the school and the new school, and then from 5 Mile Creek along behind those residents. This is with CEC, who's going to be performing that work, doing some project management and kind of some public engagement as well, to make sure that happens and occurs and finishes on time.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Passes 3, and Dana had to make note of Alderman Glennon had to step out of the room on that vote. All right, number 6, consideration of ordinance 2019-12, an ordinance amending the City of Franklin Municipal Code, Appendix A, Comprehensive Fees and Penalties, Chapter 16 of Streets and Sidewalks.
This is, thank you. This is for our on-call traffic engineers. The fee had been set at about $3,500, and we just want to revise that to where they reimburse our on-call traffic engineer directly for the expense. So we have a third-party traffic engineer that reviews all the traffic impact studies, and we have 3 of them. They can pick from one of the 3, and then they work directly with them to reimburse them directly. We're recommending approval.
All right, that's under Chapter 16 of Streets and Sidewalks.
Yeah, Appendix A, Chapter
Appendix A.
16.
Interesting. All right, any, do you have a motion, please?
I move. Move for approval.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Passes 3 to nothing. Number 7, consideration of draft professional services agreement, City of Franklin with Loose Design for the Franklin Special, oh, wait a minute, FFSD baseball field reconstruction project for a not-to-exceed amount of $276,300.
So
And who's speaking to that?
we're working with Lisa Clayton in the Parks Department in Franklin Special School District to replace 2 existing ball fields there. This is that initial contract. We are still working with Franklin Special School District to get a agreement with them on how the cost sharing is going to work, but we have negotiated the scope with LOS. We still need to get the agreement with Franklin Special School District, but we're trying to get this contract in place so when we're ready to move forward with the design, we can at least move forward with the design to totally replace those 2 fields there. With that, they're planning to do some batting cages and some work on some pedestrian circulation, restroom facilities, and concessions.
This also will be presented to you we expect at the June 11 work session. We're going to give you an overview
Okay.
of that phased plan and the specifics that Paul talked about, but show that to the board as a whole at the work session.
Right? And isn't that supposed to be FSSD?
We will fix all of our titles. It should be
Yeah,
FSSD.
and I
Yeah,
was
sorry,
going to
it's
say
typo.
Franklin Special, I thought, whoa,
Yes, it
okay.
is.
Yes, please do. No, it's good, thank you. Do you have a motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion on this?
There's a bunch of them.
This is number 7. Agreement with the baseball field reconstruction project.
All for it.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Passes 4 to 0. Number 8, consideration of draft professional services agreement, City of Franklin contract 2019-0167 with Alfred Benish and Company for the park at Harlansdale Farm multi-use path and bridge project in the amount not to exceed $29,176.
So we received a TAP grant in the amount of $2 million for this project to build a multi-use trail across from Harlansdale over to Chestnut Bend area. This is the initial scoping to basically do a due diligence phase to do some hydraulic analysis and to better locate where that bridge is. And once we figure that out, then we can authorize the actual survey and the environmental phase and the design phase to go forward. But this initial phase is simply to figure out where the best location is to place a bridge. This is 100% funded by the city. The TAP way it works is you'll get a 80% match for construction only. And so we're recommending approval of this.
Okay.
Okay.
Do I have a motion, please?
Move approval with a question.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All right, yeah, Alderman McClendon.
What, if anything, have we done or what might need to be done to assure that were we to build a bridge, that both sides of the river would be permanently publicly accessible by path? Stated differently, I have no interest in building a bridge to a private pathway to which public access is restricted or subject to restriction by a private entity.
Yeah, that'll need to get worked out. The bridge will be on totally City of Franklin property.
Well,
Worst case scenario, we can run for additional money. We could look at extending that trail up to Williamson County property. But right now, Lisa's been working with Friends of Franklin Park to iron out an agreement with Chestnut Bend to make sure that it is public access for everybody
Permanently.
permanently.
Because I know
Yeah.
that there's some lease arrangement.
There's
with the
about a
county.
10-year agreement in place.
Yeah, I'm
now.
not
Yeah.
interested in building a $250,000 or more bridge that becomes a private amenity that is not publicly accessible on both sides.
Yeah, and I think we'll need to bring that back once it gets worked out. To do this type of a grant, you have to have two logical termini. And so to accept this money, if it's not worked out with Chestnut Bend, then the only other alternative is to run that trail all the way up to the Williamson
But
County School property, which is something we'll have to look at.
But that
right now-
doesn't do any good for anybody coming from the Sonic side.
True, very true.
I mean, you'd have to,
Totally agree with
You
you.
would literally have to go to Joel Cheek, not Joel
right,
Cheek,
you'd have to walk.
Claude Yates.
You'd have to walk all the way up
Totally agree.
Hillsborough Road to double back.
But the grant requirement is two logical termini. So the first option is Friends of Franklin Park continue to work with Lisa Clayton to secure that public access, and they're actively working on that as part of this. So
Okay,
we'll
well,
keep the board updated as we move
I
forward.
mean,
Yeah, that'll need to be worked out.
well, that'll need to be worked out before we spend much more than $20,000. If we're not gonna, if that's not a fairly quick yes from the Chestnut Bend HOA, pull the plug on this whole thing.
Okay, we'll
I
do that.
mean, I don't wanna spend $20,000 to figure out that we can build a bridge, only to have
Yeah.
negotiations about access go nowhere.
Yeah, before the board finishes your prioritization on this as a CIP project, it's roughly a $3 million project, of which we have $2 million in grant funds. We need to have that answered definitively, so that's definitely on our radar screen. We gotta get that answered.
Well, one could make
before
the
you
argument,
commit.
well, one could make the argument that we should have that before we commit $29,176. That said, I don't wanna I don't wanna slow this down.
We're trying to work in parallel. on
It's an
some of these
important
issues.
project that we should do, but we need a partner.
Agreed.
I might add that I met with Tori Barnhill today at 12:30, and we were talking about this exact same thing. And she said that they do have the support of the Chestnut Bend residents there, and they do want it, and that they are working out the path to be accessible for your concerns, Dana. So I just wanted to say that I just happened to have a meeting with her today, and we talked about that. So they're working on that, and I think she said that they saw no big problems with it, but they are working on it.
We'll-
And
we'll
they should,
follow up.
and you probably should be checking with them before we continue to, even if we vote, are we sending this then to the board, correct? For
I'd
the
ask
vote.
you to go ahead and
We-
let us do this,
yes,
a little bit of
and
work, because that is a pretty critical path item to understand how this path lays out and understand the full project. But we totally understand we need to get this
Mm-hmm.
access issue resolved and confirmed before we make a larger commitment.
Alderman Martin.
We have been talking about this since it was first, since the bridge was first mentioned.
Right.
Yes.
And I don't know when that was, but it's been some time. So I would certainly agree with Alderman McClendon that we don't want to spend a single dime until we're sure, except for this, if you think we need to go off this.
So we'll make the motion to send this to the full board while they continue to do the work, correct? Right.
Move for approval, or we've already
Yeah,
done
we've
that?
done that. All in favor? Aye. All right, thank you. Number 9, consideration of draft of TDOT local agency project agreement with the City of Franklin for the Hollinsdale Farm multi-use path and bridge.
This is just our standard contract with TDOT for grants that you are awarded, and basically just spells out who's responsible for what phase and cost associated with that.
Second.
And then Tori also mentioned that as well, that they're working on being helpful with that as well. So all in favor? Aye. Passes 4-0. Number 10, consideration of draft professional services agreement with Neil Schaefer Incorporated for the 2019 Murfreesboro Road Traffic Signal Timing Update Project or amount not to exceed $116,523.
So this is around 19 signals to be retimed along Murfreesboro Road, Eddie Lane, Harno Road, Royal Oaks, and up to Mac Hatcher. And so this is standard money that we budget through the annual budgeting process and is part of our signal upgrade projects as we update timing along different corridors throughout the city. Neil Schaefer's one of our on-call traffic engineers. They've done a lot of work for us. We're recommending approval.
All right. may
And
I
this
have a
includes the
motion?
Royal Oaks corridor as well.
Pardon?
This includes Royal Oaks as well.
Yes.
From Mac Hatcher up to Lakeview.
Oh, up to, only to Lakeview, though.
Yes.
All right.
You know, and
May I have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. Number 11, consideration draft resolution 2019-47, a resolution approving the city on-call engineering, City of Franklin contract surveying, contract and traffic engineering professional services agreement.
So this is just our standard on-call contracts that we have. We have one for general engineering, one for surveying, and one for traffic engineer. Our old ones have expired, but this puts the agreements in place so that we can issue work orders for small things like our traffic impact studies that we do in association with developments or minor studies that we have as it relates to drainage or different surveys throughout the city. If Parks Department needs a survey for a park, we typically will pull from this contract. So we recommend approval of these contracts.
All right, May I have a motion?
Move approval.
Need a second?
I'll second with comment.
All right, Alderman Martin.
I'm not sure I understand this. We talked about this for another agenda.
Yes.
But when you name these firms for surveying and, well, wait a minute. You've got a list of them in here.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that nobody else can be called for those things?
No, on our typical larger scale projects, we'll do qualifications-based selection process for who's most qualified to do the job. These are more for on-call, smaller items that just pop up, routine type items that pop up throughout the year, just to get them forward. And
Do you have them now?
we do have them now. Many of these are the same consultants that have been doing work for us, with the exception of one we've added, or two we've added. So we try to have multiple firms to be able to split the work up.
And this was a qualifications-based process, so we selected them the same way we would for a larger project. We just selected multiple firms for these small, quick-hit projects that we get throughout the
Do
year.
they have to submit an application for you to be chosen?
Yes, they do. They had to follow, we advertised these, they submitted a qualifications package, and then we scored those and selected the most qualified firms off those lists for these small packages, for these small projects, excuse me.
But this is different than the water and sewer one that took place.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Passes 4-0. And then we go to the water and sanitary sewer project status. All right, number 1, anything with Spencer Creek Basin?
So we're working on, well, the South Prong Interceptor is kind of a larger study that we're working on. We presented that in front of you guys at one of the work sessions a little bit ago. So we're working on revising that.
All right. Spencer. Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say, why don't, well, I have.
Is there
there-
anything you need direction on?
Well, let's look at this. If the alderman would look at A, B, C, all the listings here, see if there's anything particular you would like to ask a question on or have them speak to, let's do that first. So, Bobby Drive, water line improvement, Old Cutters Creek, water line, Henpeck Lane, sanitary sewer.
So I'll just say the Hempec Lane notice to proceed will be June 10th. And then they have a timeline to get the sewer in front of the old school done by August, by the time school starts.
Time school, oh, that would be good.
All right, I have a question.
Sure.
About
Alderman
D.
Martin.
D.
D?
About
I
D.
think we've talked about this once before, but I want you to tell me again. Old Carter's Creek Pipe Water Line. Does that have anything to do with all that new development out there on Old Carter's Creek?
No, ma'am. It's just a replacement of existing water lines in the area.
That have become old.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't have any large-scale developments in that area right now that are on our water system.
Okay, that's in the county, right?
Yeah, what you're seeing down towards, South Hall Road, this does not involve that.
Okay.
Make sure you turn your mic on.
Alderman McLennan.
Nope, I'm good.
All right, then we have Henpeck Lane, we said that, water reclamation facility modifications, Holiday Court pump station project. What about that? What are we
Holiday
doing?
Court?
Yeah,
We're putting the finishing touches on it to get that, hopefully bid by the beginning of the fiscal year.
and that's the force main there, is that?
It's
yeah,
a new
there it
pump
is.
station, so it's a modification of an older, or it's a new pump station, taking away one of the older can stations that we had
All right.
that's just unsafe.
Okay. Any other questions on number 12? If not, we'll move to capital and project status report and take a look at those projects. Mac Hatcher Parkway Northwest Extension, any comments by the alderman or staff? West Main, West Multi-Use Trail, any comments, alderman or staff? West Haven Boulevard Traffic Signal. Alderman Martin, any questions there?
I just don't understand. It's been 3 years and.
Trust me, I know.
The light has gone up on Franklin Road to the Legends. And I just don't know why we can't move forward with this.
Yeah, we're moving forward with it. We're moving forward with it now. The preliminary design's done. We just need to finalize the design. It should be within the next 30 days that we can get that design finalized. And then it takes a while to go out to bid. So we'll have to go out to bid. That's another 30 to 60 days to bid it and award it. And then we should be looking at a notice to proceed after that.
Can you tell me why,
And that's assuming there's not major right-of-way acquisition that we have to do.
can you tell me why that others can be done in a
This-
reasonable time
to be-
and this has taken years?
To be very honest, this sat in West Haven's hands, Southern Land's hands for a very long time.
Well,
And they were supposed to take the lead and get it done, and when they didn't, we took the
Yes,
initiative.
We
to do
took
it.
Let me
it
say
over.
that. We took it over because it wasn't moving.
I
So I
understand.
want to make
I-
that clear.
And I understand that. But when we took it over, when was that we took it over?
About a year ago.
A year ago.
So compared to the other projects, it's moving about as what you'd expect,
What you'd expect.
once we took it over.
Okay.
And also, we should be working with the state along with that.
No.
No, or not on this
Yeah, we need to
project?
get approval from the state.
Because
Got
it's a state
approval from
route.
the state.
And it took a while to get the survey done. The surveyors are typically backed up a few months before they can get on site. But once we took over, the survey got out there and got done, and you didn't see a lot of action happening because they were surveying. But now the preliminary design's done, and we're looking at what do we have to do with utility relocations and what do we have to do with right-of-way. Once we get those two things finalized, that project will be able to be streamlined with a really concrete schedule. But we're working on it.
Thanks.
Alderman Martin, I feel your pain. 14 years with McEwen.
Please.
It is. It's
Hillsborough
crazy.
Road.
And Hill, and
Y'all
Dan-
ain't even on the
yes,
clock
and
yet.
you, right. So Hillsborough Road and McEwen, we'll put those on the top. Alderman
I know it gets confusing. You just
Brandy.
say Brandy.
Randy.
So I have a
Brandy.
question, just as clarification on Paul, because you weren't here, on the intersection improvements on Mallory and Liberty. I know we voted in, well, they voted in a roundabout. And I get that because of the apartments, I understand why that tipped the scale. But I think, a point of clarification, is there a secondary roundabout or not? Because I know one plan had it on there. When we looked at it the other night and voted it through, it was on there.
Yes.
Right, as I exit my subdivision,
There
there
is a-
was a smaller one.
We are proposing a secondary roundabout at Stanwick Drive
Okay.
to allow access from Stanwick
Because it's been on
Drive.
there, it's not been on there, and I talked to a couple of people in our world that said, I didn't think there was gonna be a second one, so.
It wasn't originally shown on there with the roundabout exhibit. The reason we put it there was for the request of the residents in that area to actually be able to get out of there. With a roundabout at Liberty Pike and Mallory Lane and Royal Oaks, you're gonna have more free-flowing traffic through there, so we needed a roundabout at Stanwick as well to allow more easy access and safer access out of Stanwick
And
Drive.
that will
So-
allow the left-hand turn as
Correct.
well.
Still don't like it, but okay, what were you gonna say, Paul?
Right now, we're negotiating the scope with our consultant to update the design, and we have to get additional survey. And so what I would envision is we would bring that scope forward. We would have a estimate on what the project costs, because the scope has grown a little bit because the limits have grown. And then we would move into a design phase, of which, once we get far enough along in design to be able to show true right-of-way impacts or what the project's gonna look like, we would then start re-engaging the general public with exhibits and options and better cost.
All right, in East McEwen Phase 4, are we able to, are we doing the appraisals yet?
No, right now, we got the plans. There's some issues with the plans that we're trying to work with our consultant to get corrected. Until we can get some of these utilities better nailed down and the right-of-way limits nailed down, we're not gonna be able to move into the right-of-way phase. So we're hoping in the next 2 weeks to sit down with them and get that updated and work out a new schedule. But right now, the plans are not ready to go into TDOT. Once we get them ready to go to TDOT, then we can start the acquisition appraisal process. But we are working hard to do that. Okay.
Okay, was the good news. So Columbia Avenue widening improvements, any comments by the alderman or the staff? Intersection improvements at Mauer Lane and Liberty Pike. We just talked about that. Jordan Branch, Spencer Creek, Bill Springs, stream restoration. I think we are moving in a direction trying to work with that, so. That's okay, we don't need to talk about it, we just had meetings on it. Southeast Municipal Complex Park, anything there?
You've issued some contracts related to some design services on the park and the bridge and those components. So that's moving forward.
And reconstruction of tennis courts at Jim Warren Park.
That's well underway. It's been underway for about a month now. What we've been doing, if you drive out there and look, we've been undercutting the court to make sure we have a nice firm foundation to build the new courts up on. The demolition is complete, so they're working to get that complete
So it's
this summer.
construction to begin April 22nd.
It has.
It did.
Yeah,
it did.
I do need to highlight that the undercutting wasn't part of the bid and will be a change order. There really wasn't a choice that wouldn't support proof rolls, and so we couldn't build that. So we're working on bringing forward a change order. We do have some contingency funding in the amount of $75,000, but we'll be bringing that change order back as soon as it's ready.
Great. Alderman, any other questions or comments? No. All right, Alderman Martin.
Where is our list? Where is our priority list?
Okay, so,
What is our
well, we've had our discussion on the initial priorities, and what we're working to bring back to you is some initial financial plans related to your top priorities, and then some that have specific timing concerns. So I'd expect us to have a special meeting sometime in June to have that discussion. Yes. So we are working on it. It just takes a little time with individual projects to kind of give you at least a high-level financial strategy on each project and understand how that fits with some of your funding components. So that's forthcoming.
That's good, because I'm getting questions about where we are on certain projects. So I'll have June to tell them that. Now, the roundabout near Twin Oaks, they want that removed. Is somebody working on this?
That roundabout was put in through the traffic calming program.
I
And
know.
what we've told the homeowners out there that want it removed is to have it removed, you still have to go through that same process and do a petition.
You
So we
have
don't-
told them that?
Yes, we do not put traffic calming measures in based on one person, and we don't remove them based on one person. It takes a petition area and 51%, and we bring that forward to the board to have that presented. So it will take that traffic calming, they should be very well aware of that.
Okay, that's fine, but you did tell, somebody did from
Yes.
the city did tell them that?
Yes.
Because I'm getting the brunt of it.
Yes, we have told them.
Yes.
Okay,
And you
All
can
right.
tell them that too,
okay.
please. That would help. Yeah.
All right, cricket at Liberty School.
Playing cricket at
playing
Liberty School.
cricket at
Yeah.
Liberty School.
Mhm.
I don't know how to answer the neighbors there.
We're not involved
When-
in that, to tell you the
It's
truth.
only,
It's not our property.
it's only Franklin Special.
Out there in
Okay,
the front,
well,
the
I've,
whole-
I've
Right, that big
referred them
grass area there.
to Dr. Snowden, so
Mhm. That's right. That's
so
right.
then we're out of it, okay. Let's see. That's all I have, thank you.
All right. Any other? All right, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Need a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. 4:30.